Oh man, what a sack! Gosh,
Boyd stunned on the sideline.
he's so good.
Jadeveon Clowney though, dude.
He's so good though. Dude, this,
Finding Shaq rolling.
I always wonder what I could have done in football. I mean, like I love playing football.
Look at that fade route, dude.
I love watching it. It just brings back so many great memories.
No, I love Cam Newton. That's what I love about football.
Yeah, like he's a good quarterback.
But he's not even playing in this game. That was like 3 years ago. Really?
Still, it's Cam Newton. He's in the NFL. It doesn't matter. I mean, have you seen his butt in those pants?
So you don't even like Cam Newton. You just
Like his butt.
If Cam Newton and I got together, we would be Big Newton. I mean, come on. How cool would that be?
It ruins the sport when you say it like that.
Sorry.
They were
Sorry,
not done turning it over.
Uses and gratification theory is the belief that people deliberately use certain medias for particular purposes. We seek to gratify our needs and the media can fulfill them. It lays on the objective side of the paradigmatic continuum and fits within the socio-psychological tradition. As Eric expressed, football is entertaining and it fulfills the need of boredom with its excitement. Understanding this theory allows us to comprehend why people choose different types of entertainment over others. When we understand media choices, we are able to recognize the underlying needs that motivate behavior. Everyone is affected differently by different types of media, and this scene demonstrated how Katie's reaction differed with that of Eric and David's.
Hey, that was a sweet hit though, man.
Dude, so my Twitter feed just went off and Fox Sports just said that Rob Gronkowski is out. He tore his ACL.
What?
That's crazy. I didn't even see anything happen like that.
That Twitter. I don't know.
It's Fox Sports though. It's so reliable.
Mine says that he's coming back into the game.
But who's your source though?
NBC.
Okay, see?
Dude, NBC's wrong.
No, man, it doesn't matter. The news is just going to tell you whatever they want to say. You need to be able to like look at all the facts at both sides of the story.
So what are you saying? We should probably just go online or wait for the actual report
Yeah,
to
we
come
should
out?
probably just wait for the second half to start and see if he comes up.
All right, we'll see. But I'm pretty sure Fox Sports is right.
The agenda-setting theory is the belief that news media does not tell us what to think, but what to think about. Depending on our personality, exposure, friends, and interest, the news that we view first becomes what we believe to be classified as the most important. It lays on the objective side of the paradigmatic continuum and fits within the socio-psychological tradition. As you can see in the scene, the media's breaking news is making us think about Gronkowski's ACL, causing them to form opinions. Eric's source says one thing, whereas Katie's says another. Understanding that the news is being reported to specific audiences will help us to recognize that there's a variety of news out there. Therefore, if you only watch a specific news source, then what you will see will be based on what that specific source believes, and thus your opinion can become skewed.
Oh man, it's gonna be such a good game this week. I cannot wait for it.
Hey, I just got a text from Teal. She's having a party tonight. You guys want to go?
Yeah, why not?
Only if Cam Newton's gonna be there.
Oh, would you tap that?
I tapped that.
All right, let's get out of here.
Hey, what's going on?
Hey!
How's it going?
Good.
Thanks for the invite, man. This is it.
It's a party.
Yeah.
It's Philadelphia. Here we go now. Check it out.
What do we got today?
You like that?
Yes, so glad to see you guys all. It's so good. It's so cold outside, but we're all glad to be able to
This
come
is
together.
a great party.
Yeah, good
Thanks for
job,
inviting
Teal. Warming up with some margaritas.
You know.
You guys want some Jack Daniels? You
You
guys can have some.
want some Everclear?
No, thank you.
Oh, we're missing our tortillas.
What'd you guys do today?
Watch some football for the majority of the day.
Yeah, what about y'all? What'd you guys do?
We were watching football too.
Just hanging out.
Nice.
We heard what's his face torn his ACL or something.
Rob?
Yeah, I heard that.
Well, that's what we think, but we all have different sources, so we're waiting to find out tomorrow when they actually release it.
Whoever really knows.
I sure hope he can come back. That would suck.
Yeah.
What did you do last night?
Last night we had our house dance, so it was pretty fun.
Tap that.
Yeah.
What are you guys talking about?
Oh, and it's really funny. Like, we were all studying one night, and she mentioned that this guy came over and tapped her. And,
But it's
like,
not what you think.
Right,
It's
like,
not what you think.
we all thought it was like that, but apparently when you get asked to a dance, it's called tapping. But man, every time we see each other now, I can't help but think about it.
It's just a running joke that we have, but it just reminds us of a great time that we had that night studying.
It's awesome, man.
Great time studying.
For us at least, we had a great time. Yeah, we did.
You want to tap that?
Hey, you're in the circle.
Oh, poor Lori.
The tapping circle, it's all about Laura, but it's alright.
Symbolic convergence theory is when members of a group are brought together in a more cohesive manner. It is defined as sharing group fantasies. It creates solidarity and bonding among the friends, giving them a unique group identity. It lays in the middle of the paradigmatic continuum in between objective and interpretive, and fits within the rhetorical and socio-psychological traditions. Within the rhetorical tradition, we are in a group of friends at a party in a public setting. We are using rhetoric to paint a picture for those who do not understand the reference, or we are using it to build the fantasy chain. It fits within the socio-psychological tradition as well, because as the fantasy chain builds, it continues to grow and grow, thus cause and effect. A dramatizing message is an off-topic remark made within a group, and a fantasy chain occurs when the group reacts to the dramatizing message and it grows. David brings up the dramatizing message as "I'd tap that," in which Eric plays off of. Since I was not involved, David explained it to me, and then I was able to participate in the fantasy chain as well.
Think we good?
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Alright, who's ready for another round of shots? Let's do this!
Not me. I'm gonna head home soon, guys.
Party pooper.
I need to walk home though. It's pretty late.
Here, don't pour me one either, because I'm gonna walk with her.
Really? Come on.
No, it's fine. I'm okay on my own.
No. I'll go
I
with
think
you.
she's okay.
Laura, you can't walk back by yourself. I mean, it's a dangerous world out there. I mean, it is 1:30 in the morning.
I mean, it's got a good point, actually. I mean, you have pepper spray? Does anybody have pepper spray?
I
you can
have
walk
pepper
with?
spray. My dad always makes me carry it, so.
Wow.
I can.
I'll take the
You guys
pepper
are
spray.
so paranoid. You've been watching way too much television.
Seriously.
Like, too much news, too many movies.
Yeah.
What's going on here?
You can't be, I mean, carrying pepper spray is a good thing, and if David's gonna walk her home,
Yeah, it's a slim chance that anything's gonna happen, but just to be safe,
Yeah.
I'll just go with you, alright?
David's a good guy.
Let's go.
Alright, hey,
Bye,
tap that,
guys.
guys.
Tap that.
Tap it.
Thanks for the invite.
Bye, guys.
See you guys. Alright,
So
shots
more
without
shots?
him.
Yeah!
Cultivation theory centers around violence. The belief is that the violence a viewer sees on television or movies can cultivate a social paranoia that counter notions of trustworthy people of safe surroundings. It lays closer to the objective side of the paradigmatic continuum, and it fits within the socio-psychological tradition and the socio-cultural tradition. It relates to the socio-psychological tradition such that the violence we see creates a paranoia. It fits with the socio-cultural tradition because violent media creates an easily skewed belief based on the language and interaction. They are harmless. In this scene, Lori does not suffer from this effect because she does not watch violent media, whereas Katie and David do. They feel something terrible may happen to her if she walks home alone because the violent media they have seen in the past has led them to believe that the world is a really bad place.
There's also a connection between the uses and gratifications theory and the symbolic convergence theory. UGT states that we choose the medias we enjoy to gratify the needs that we have. The gratification that we get can create a symbolic convergence based on the similar types of media that two or more people watch. Say, Lori and I are best friends. We are more than likely to watch similar types of media. Those medias fulfill gratifications and can give us similar types of discussions in which we can create a fantasy chain off of.
An intersection exists between the cultivation theory and the agenda setting theory. The news that we see is what causes us to have certain perceptions of the world. The amount of violence we see and hear about leads to believe that the world we live in is full of felonious perpetrators with malicious intent. This can also be applied to things such as sexuality, apocalyptic seers, and the importance of certain social events.
Alright, so let's start this group discussion off with a simple question. How are media, interpersonal, and organizational communication mutually influenced?
Well, to start it off with media, I'd say that media is constantly being used around the world, and it's being accessed, reported, viewed, and made available for everyone 24 hours a day. So I would say that it's taking over the world, and it's just becoming really popular, and it's influential such that everyone in the world is involved in some sort of media communication one way or another.
Yeah, kind of like the scene with David, Eric, and myself when we were watching football and discussing the news about Gronkowski. You can easily tell how the media influences individuals and the effect it has on people. Similarly to when I tried so hard to convince you, Lori, not to walk home alone in the dark.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, the media had influenced her to the point of paranoia.
Yeah, for sure.
You know?
Again, and even interpersonal communication, it's the process by which people exchange information, feelings, and meaning through verbal and nonverbal messages. So it's face to face, being in contact with people, which is completely opposite of media. And even though media is kind of taking over the world, I'd say that interpersonal is just as influential. And it's not just what's being said; it's how the nonverbal messages are so relevant. It's like the tone of voice we're saying, the expressions, our actions and whatnot. So
Yeah.
That's definitely a really important part of it as well.
Yeah, and I mean, you kind of touched on it. It's really influential because we as humans were programmed to speak face to face. So we need that contact, and it's kind of interesting because the friends that you surround yourself by, you start picking up on their habits, and you start like doing their little quirks and everything, or like sounding like them. So yeah, it's definitely interesting, and that depends on how much time we spend with our friends. We'll pick up on more of those little things.
definitely.
Yeah, and like another part to bring up is where I didn't want Lori to walk home alone. Exemplifies the influentially of interpersonal communication. Lori, like any other person, has heard of violent things happening on college campuses, but she didn't feel like that was actually going to happen to her.
Right.
But I was able to influence her enough to where she didn't feel comfortable enough to walk home alone, so she let David walk her home.
Right.
So.
And then you can look at the organizational communication being the process that groups perform so they can collaborate to accomplish like a goal or a task together, but they still allow the individual to accomplish their individual goal that they wanted to accomplish. So I always like to look at it like a professional athlete. One person that really sticks out in my mind was Chad Ochocinco or Chad Johnson. He was a really great wide receiver for Oregon State University as well as in the NFL, but the only problem was he was so focused on his own goals that he actually never accomplished anything that the organization wanted. And this mindset of his actually drove him to become retired and to retire with some great individual goals, but never had a Super Bowl championship, never won anything with great value, and ultimately it didn't benefit the organization to what any of the organizations he played for wanted.
Right, because he was so selfish.
Yeah, exactly.
But like a good example of somebody who like worked within their own way and worked within like the organization, I feel like would be Roger Staubach. He's my favorite football player of all time. Like this guy, he went to school at the Naval Academy and he won the Heisman Trophy. He was like a really good quarterback, and then he got drafted into the NFL, but said like, no, like I'm at the Naval Academy. I made a commitment to like serve as an officer in the Navy, and so he goes over to Vietnam and he does a year over there. He's like a war hero. Then he comes back after he's done with that commitment, after he did his duty over there, and he like rededicates himself to football. He goes and he leads the Cowboys to like 2 Super Bowl championships. This guy's like an 8-time Pro Bowler, because of like good tenets like selfless service and leadership and like, respect.
Yeah.
Well, and those are all things that the people around him picked up on, and they all use his motivation and his desire both in NFL and in the military to help propel their. I mean, what did they win? 2 Super Bowls?
Yeah.
And you could definitely, give the credit to him as a quarterback leading his team, but not just through his ability, but through his actions on and off the field.
Right, yeah, not just leading the team, but like leading his shipmates in Vietnam too, and probably leading them in the same way.
Yeah, I think that's a great example, David.
Definitely.
So now all we really need to do is to identify real world problems that you believe can be attributed to media representation.
I'd say the mean world syndrome is a pretty good one. It's defined as the cynical mindset and general mistrust of others subscribed by heavy television viewers. So, Katie, in that scene, you were a heavy television viewer of violent shows, right? And you didn't feel it was safe for me to walk home at night, and you've developed this cynical mindset that doesn't trust anyone roaming the streets late at night. And Teal pointed out that fact in the scene, and I thought that was a pretty good example of the way the mean world syndrome can be attributed to that.
Yeah. It's crazy, but it's really becoming a real world problem. This violent media, it's become more and more popular in our society. I mean, it's affecting us in so many different ways. And since the news is such a large influential factor in our society, they should be establishing that media violence is not what the real world is like. And they should be telling us to think about the fact that it's just Hollywood and other movie productions creating this. It's not real life.
Yeah. And a problem that I see a lot with media representation is stereotypes. Because even though I don't feel like the media created stereotypes, they definitely like perpetuate them. You know, because like media is like the most accessible form of communication in our society. And so ideas spread really quickly through media. So like I feel like a good example would be that stereotype that like Asian people are smart.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, we all laugh about it, but I mean, like if you look around at like TV shows or movies, like you definitely see that's all over the place. Like, okay, go back to like Star Trek with Mr. Sulu, or you know, even like more contemporary stuff like that smart card counter Choi in the movie 21, or even like Short Round in the Goonies. You know, these guys, they're all Asian and they're all smart characters. So, I mean, those movies didn't like create that perception, but like the evidence is there, and they're definitely not like combating that perception.
Oh yeah, and you could totally argue that for all types of stereotypes. But I think the point is, in one hand, they showcase these commercials and campaigns stressing the importance of breaking down these barriers and revolutionizing our thoughts to eliminate prejudice. But then on the other hand, they continue to push the status quo on pre-existing values onto the viewer. So we're really torn on what are they trying to promote and what are they trying to make us change.
Right.
And
What do we believe in?
yeah. But again, I guess the biggest thing we need to address is how do we take these real world issues and fix them through interpersonal communication.
Those are some really good examples, and I think that some how we can like fix these, like the big real world problems that we were just talking about, the mean world syndrome and stereotyping, can be solved through different interpersonal communications. Since interpersonal communication is such a large influential factor in our society, through those who are knowledgeable in communication theories, they need to be able to share with others their information and get across the truth of it. So,
And you know, just to kind of wrap all this up, I guess, in relation to the mean world syndrome, they must tell people to be skeptical and let them know that it's okay to be afraid, but know that violence in the media is fake and it's over dramatized, and it's not really like that usually.
Yeah.
But in relation to stereotypes, they also need to make sure that people are aware that in the media it's dramatized, and we don't want that to be the main, I don't know, the main,
Like the main
idea
point of
getting
it all.
across.
yeah, exactly. I mean, it happens, but that doesn't need to be the focus all the time. So just because something's seen on the news, the television, in a movie, or on social media, it doesn't automatically make it the sole truth.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's a great one to end on, is that ultimately we individually decide what the sole truth is on how we perceive it and how we present it.
Yeah.
Right.
And so that's the bottom line between all this, is what you
need to
see. You
make-
need to be able to decide.
Take all the facts and make a judgment for yourself.
You know, it's kind of like going back to what we heard on Twitter between the two sources and what we see on TV is, you know, are there really wizards and witches? No. You know, so it's the extent of we need to know what is true, where we're getting the information from, and then how we allow it to affect us in the day-to-day world.
Hashtag true.
Hashtag.
Hashtag done.
Hashtag final.
Woo! Hashtag final.
hashtag snow day.